Well, I thought to myself, if you can unmix it, my dear uncle, you are a clever man. Let us study it, he said, picking up the piece of paper on which I had written. Here we are, 132 letters, Alex. Axel. But I was looking at the picture on the wall. A picture of Groban, my uncle goddaughter, was studying with a relative in Altona, and her absence made me sad. For I now confess, Groban and I loved each other, and were secretly hoping to marry. Groban was a pretty girl with blue eyes and fair hair, who was rather serious about everything, but that did not stop her loving me. I worshipped her, and looking at that picture of her carried me into the world of memories and dreams. I was just thinking about walking hand in hand with Robin along the banks of the river Elbe when my uncle banged the table with his fist and brought me suddenly back to the earth. Axel, he said, perhaps all that has happened is that the words have been written down the parchment from top to bottom, instead of across it. He solemnly read out the letters of the words going to down the page. First of all, the first letter, then all the second, and so on until I had written down many more nonsense words. I admit that by now I was excited myself. I expected the professor to read out a magnificent Latin sentence. To my surprise, his hand struck the table, the ink splashed, and the pen flew out of my hand. That makes nonsense, shouted my uncle. It can't be right. He rushed across the study, through the dining room, down the stairs, and out onto King Street as fast as his legs would carry him. New chapter the key. Martha ran out for her kitchen. As the street door banged, has he gone? She cried. What about his lunch? He won't eat it, I replied, and his super. He won't eat that either, Martha. Uncle Lindenbrock is not going to eat, and nor is anybody else in this house until he was worked out the meaning of some old puzzle that is impossible to understand. Oh dear, you mean we will all go hungry then? The old servant went unhappily back to her kitchen. I picked up the paper on which I had written the letters. What can what can it mean? I muttered. I tried grouping the letters to form words. It was impossible, although I could find one or two English words, some Latin and French words together. They did not seem to have any meaning. As I struggled, my brain got heated and I could not think clearly. I was choking, I needed air. Without thinking, I started fanning myself with a piece of paper. Imagine my surprise as the back of the paper was turned towards me each time I waved it in front of my face. I thought I could read more Latin words. Suddenly, suddenly I understood. I had found the key. The paper could be read just as it was, but backwards. The professor had been right about the language, right about the arrangement of the letters. Now chance had shown me how to read them. I spread the paper out on the table. Now let's see what it says. I said to myself, putting my finger on each letter in turn and going from right to left. I read out the whole message aloud. What terror it produced. Was what it said really true? had some man dared to go down